Now that we've all seen significant evidence of lies, corruption, and deception, it's important to take a look back at a name, dare I say, even more important than George Floyd. A man for which there were no protests, no summer of love, not even a thorough investigation. A young DC staffer with his whole life ahead of him was murdered on July 10, 2016, shot twice in the back hours after leaving a DC bar near his home, and to this day, his case remains unsolved. That man, Seth Rich. Interestingly, his murder was deemed a robbery, yet his attackers took nothing. He was found with his wallet, his phone, and his watch still on him. If you're an investigator, where do you begin your investigation? Well, it turns out management at the bar where Seth Rich was the night of his murder reported that police never interviewed them or their staff, never requested any evidence, receipts, or even surveillance footage from their cameras. A private investigator, retired DC Police Detective Rod Wheeler, who was hired to look into the matter, reported that an inside source within the DC Police Department looked him straight in the eye and warned him, "Rod, we were told to stand down on this case." Doesn't that seem odd for a murder investigation? Now, here is why you may not have heard more about this case. Wheeler also reported that a federal source confirmed to him that Seth Rich sent thousands of DNC emails to WikiLeaks, which ironically were released to the public only 12 days after the murder of Seth Rich, whose laptop that he kept in his apartment could not be found after his murder. These 20,000 emails dated from January 2015 to May 2016 from DNC staff, who is supposed to remain unbiased, showed clear bias against Bernie Sanders by undermining his campaign for that of Hillary Clinton. After the leak, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager said publicly that he believed the Russians were the source of the leak. Where have I heard that before? This also happened to be right around the time the Russia collusion story flooded the media. Here is what WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange had to say.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Notice how angry the reporter is at Julian's responses? Such an emotional response. 3 months later, WikiLeaks publicly releases the Podesta emails, which we will cover in another video. This brings us to September 1st, 2017, when Brian Huddleston, a citizen who knows that we the people have a right to information, along with his attorney, Ty Clevenger, filed a Freedom of Information Act request to force the FBI to release all data, documents, records, or communications that reference Seth Rich, his devices, and his murder. The FBI claimed they had nothing. Huddleston and Clevenger filed a lawsuit where, again, the FBI claimed to the courts they had nothing. Huddleston and Clevenger knew the FBI had something, and so this sparked a second lawsuit where the court docket reads, in stark contrast to the FBI's response to Clevenger's FOIA request, where the FBI found 0 responsive records, the FBI now acknowledges that it possesses over 20,000 pages of potentially relevant material. How odd. After years of continued back and forth, I will bring you to where we stand as recently as yesterday. Ty Clevenger publicly stated, after dealing with the FBI for 5 years now, I assume that the FBI is lying to me unless and until it proves otherwise. The FBI is desperately trying to hide records about Seth Rich, and that begs the question of why. In September of 2022, the FBI was court-ordered to turn over all information they had on Seth Rich, including his computer, which we now know was in the possession of the FBI the entire time, and all documents pertaining to CrowdStrike, which I will cover in another video, and the DNC hack of 2016, which we now know is all related. Quite the turn of events, huh? Here's what we now know. The FBI never opened an investigation into the murder of Seth Rich. The FBI confessed they have CDs with images of Seth Rich's laptop, which was provided to them by local law enforcement. They claim that the CDs need to be converted into a format that would amount to about 400,000 pages plus images and videos. The FBI requested to the court that they are only able to release 500 pages per month. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but 400,000 pages with only 500 being released per month, that would mean the FBI is requesting a 66-year time frame in which to complete this request. I mean, oddly, that's the same request the FDA recently made to the courts when they refused immediate transparency about the Pfizer poke. It's the same request the DOJ made about the Mueller report. Should transparency be required? I mean, how many times will the FBI be allowed to lie to the public? How many times will they be allowed to lie in court? Why has no one investigated the murder of Seth Rich? And why is Julian Assange still in jail? Why did the media continue to peddle a now disproven Russia collusion for so long? And why don't they have to spend the same amount of effort retracting and reporting the truth? The world has truly become a circus. Thanks for listening.